Hello guys, today we're doing my favorite movie list, top 60. Now, I know 60 is a lot, but I'm going to go over them very quickly because, and you may wonder why 60, why not 10 or 20 or whatever. Well, I tried that, but I love so many movies. There's a ton of movies I love. I mean, it's astronomical, and I was trying to look for the right number where I didn't want to talk about all of them, but just the right amount, and 60 was. So to keep things moving, I'm going to talk about them incredibly briefly, and there might be a few that might be in some Fenn recommend videos. So I won't talk about those ones as much. I'll probably talk about a little bit more on the upper ones. But I'm going to keep it quick and going. The way I organized it was IMDB. They let you create lists of movies or whatever, TV shows or whatever, like favorites or whatever. And that's what I did. Now, total the list is like 200. So, I'm cutting 140 out. So, it's a lot. So, yeah. But let me adjust this. There we go. But yeah, so, I'm sorry, the thing's kind of, yeah, okay, it's fine. Alright, so, let's start with number 60. The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, it's, just a real man's movie. And it's just a great movie. It's pretty much three guys gonna get some gold in old Mexico, and it's an amazing movie. It has Humphrey Bogart. I have a computer up with them, with all the movies. I'm not gonna go into super detail with them like Fenn recommends. I'm just gonna talk about them. There might be a few spoilers, but not much. And it's a great movie. I just like the cinematography is good, the acting's great. It's just a real man's movie. It's a movie you watch with the guys, and it's kind of a semi-tragic tale about the worry of greed, how greed can turn people bad. Three guys, they go up in a mountain and try to mine gold. It's a pretty manly movie. It's pretty awesome. Definitely check that one out. Phantom of the Opera, the old one, the silent one from 1925, starring Lon Chaney, and it's awesome. I mean, for being made back then, it's a pretty awesome movie. And I haven't seen every single version of Phantom of the Opera, but I can say this one would probably be my favorite, and it's the best one. Just look it up online or whatever. It's a great movie. It can be intense. It has music in it, though not like, it's not a musical, but there's good music, good score in it. The acting's fantastic. Lon Chaney is fucking awesome. He's a scene stealer, and it's it was the first Universal monster movie make it big, but I don't count it as a part of that monster universe because it came well before then, and they remade it into something else. So that's separate from it, but it's still a great movie. You can find it anywhere. It's like previous one, Sarah Madre. You can find that one anywhere too, but you can find it anywhere. Just be wary that there's different times, but it's kind of scary, a little dark, and very good. And there's a sequence in the movie that might surprise you at what they try to do. I'm not gonna give it away, but just watch it. And there's a sequence in it, and you're like first time I watch it, I'm like, oh my god, they did this. They got away with doing this from way back then. That's awesome, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a good one. Number 59. I love that one. Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood won Best Director. I think he won Best Picture too. This is probably my favorite Western. I love Westerns, but this one's my favorite. It's my favorite because it's so... You feel that emotion in this movie. It's like you feel that hardship. You feel that grit, that sadness, that dread. That killing people is so wrong on so many levels. Just morally feeling, you just feel it. And anytime someone does it, it's just bad. And it does a great job. And it just feels like a hardcore Western. It feels like very human Western, not super Hollywood, nice amount of action, but it's not kind of Hollywoody. It feels very realistic. But it's still entertaining at the same time. It's a great Western, my favorite Western, and yeah, great movie. Groundhog Day, there's not a lot of comedies in this list, and the biggest reason why is, to me, a lot of comedies to me feel like gimmicks, you know? They always feel like, oh, we have these few cool jokes and the rest is just shit story and everything. And it turned me off a lot, and plus I can find comedy anywhere in any medium pretty easily, while the other types, not as much, necessarily. But Groundhog Day, to me, what I love about Groundhog Day is it's a great story. And everything's great. And all these movies are pretty much flawless in my eyes. And when I say favorite movies, I don't mean like these are movies I think are the greatest ever made. It's not. That would be a different kind of list. These are just my personal favorite, my own favorite kind of thing. But anyway, like Groundhog Day, it's funny, it's clever, it's kind of dramatic, but not to the point where it's like kind of a mood killer. It makes you think about things, makes you question things. And it's the first movie to really come up with, as far as I know, come up with the idea of doing something every day, what would you do differently? It's a very good question. We've seen it applied to other movies like Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise and Happy Death Day, the new one. But this one's just funny. I got Bill Murray doing his great, and yeah, I love watching it. It's always fun to watch. Now, Rain Man. This is another Tom Cruise movie with Philip Seymour Hoffman, great actor. And this one, it's a really good movie because it feels very, it's hard to describe. It pulls me in because it's really it's an important movie. It's really the first movie to shine light on autism. And while granted, the subject of the type of autism they talk about is an incredibly rare form of autism, it's autism nonetheless. And it's a great movie. It's pretty entertaining. Tom Cruise is awesome. Philip Seymour Hoffman's awesome. And you always wonder what they're gonna do. It's kind of set up, but they just pretty much bond and they figure out each other. And Tom Cruise's character, he learns about him, and it's really the first movie to tackle it. They do it so well. And you feel like you learn something. You feel like you learn a lot. And surprisingly, there hasn't been a lot of movies to tackle characters with autism, which is incredibly strange because autism is becoming so much more and more common. Very much. And it can be very hard to tackle. Now, some people may say that this one, they kind of go the extreme route with it, but I think that's warranted because it needed to be shown. And it's a great movie. I love watching it. I love seeing these characters. I like seeing them evolve. And I find it very relatable to me, and yeah, it's a pretty cool movie. This movie is not everyone would know it. The only really recognizable person in it's probably Vincent Price. This is the first Vincent Price movie I've ever seen, and I have to say it left a good impact on me. Now it's a mystery thriller, and what I love about this movie is, well, cinematography is awesome, but that the screenplay is cool because what I love about this mystery is that, you know, in most mysteries you're like, okay, he probably did it or she probably did it or something like that. In this one, that's not really the case. You really feel like anyone could have done it because everyone has a moment where you just see them, you're like, I bet you did it. Now, granted, not everyone may feel like this. Some people may think differently, but to me, that's what I felt, and I'm like, and the way it ends so awesomely, and while it's not really tragic, it feels tragic, and it's kind of a hybrid. It's very strange, and it's very good in that area, and it's been on Netflix for a long time. I've watched it a couple times, and even watching again, I still love it. And I have to say, I can't. It's amazing, and great Vincent Price movie. He's been in a lot of good ones, but this was a good one, and I just love the, like, you don't know what's gonna happen. It's pretty unpredictable. You think it's just gonna be detective's gonna solve the crime or something, but then it takes a clever detour, and they mix something in a little psychological edge to it, and it gets a little strange. Not greatly strange, but a little strange, and it's pretty unique. Now, I struggled with this one because I love Alfred Hitchcock. I love his movies. I've watched quite a few of them, but not all of them, without a doubt. And I knew I had to have one in my top 6 because I love his movies so much, but I had a hard time picking one. And in the movie, this one, Vertigo, I ended up picking this one because his movies, while amazing, there's a formula to him. He's a genre director. He likes directing mystery thrillers. And his movies are incredibly well executed. And they're not formulaic, but they have a rhythm to them. He knows what he's doing. He's done these kind of movies, and he does them top notch. Kind of like Marvel, the way they do their movies. But I love this one the most because this one deviates a lot from the formulas. There's a lot of twists and turns in it. And there's a lot of difference. You think one guy's a hero, but then there's shifts. There's shifts in the story that make you question things. There's a lot of strange, surreal moments, and it's very colorful. It's very dramatic, and he breaks a lot of his usual story norms in this movie. Now, when the movie came out, it was a bomb. People hated this movie, but now it has 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, 93, 94 by audiences, 97 by critics, and it's just... Now, it's going to be hard to say that this movie will stay in my top 60 in the future because I haven't seen all of them. I've seen Psycho, The Man Who Knew Too Much, the remake, not the older one he did. Rear Window, the 39 or the 35 steps, I forgot the number, and Dial M for Murder. Dial M for Murder was awesome. I considered having this one instead of Vertigo, but I went with Vertigo because Vertigo just has something more to it, a more unpredictability to it. Dial M for Murder could have easily taken this spot, but I went with Vertigo just because it just looking back, it feels different, and that's what I like about it. And this movie and other Hitchcock films definitely deserve a look. Definitely. Halloween. Now this movie, this is a John Carpenter classic, and I love John Carpenter. I love his horror movies. I could watch his horror movies all day. What I love about Halloween is that, now, I've been a fan of horror movies for since my freshman year of college. I'm a senior right now, so for quite a while. I've been watching a lot of horror movies. And I love all the classic horrors. And what I love most about this movie is that the kind of the traditional stuff, the minimal gore, but the more tense. What I love about this one is I watch this and I'm like, I could do a movie like this. This was one of the first, I don't know the first, but one of the earliest movies I've watched where I'm like, this movie has power, and I could do something like this. I could create this kind of story, and I could do good at it. And Michael Myers, I love The Mask. I love these nonverbal figures. I like people like Michael Myers, not because they're necessarily evil or anything like that, bad guys, but I like how you have to figure out who they are through their actions, through how they move, through how they do things, through what they've experienced. And granted, most horror movies do a shitty job in telling those stories, but I like imagining. I like imagining Michael Myers. Who is this guy? What is he thinking? I like the way they move. Like, not just Michael Myers, but slashers in general. Just the way he moves, the way he grabs things, the way he tries to stab people. It's a little strange, but I just find people like him fascinating because you don't know what they think. They don't talk. They do everything through action. I appreciate characters told like that. And it's intense, the acting's good, the music is so fucking iconic. I love the music, it's so awesome. Every time I hear it, I just know shit's coming. It's one of the best horror movie scores ever. And there's another movie that didn't make the list that has a great horror score too, but this one's just iconic. And I love watching it every October area. I love watching this movie along with its lesser sequels, but still love watching it nonetheless. It's an awesome movie, and if you love horror or just good, intense movies, this is definitely a good one to see. New movies to me are pretty tricky, because for me, my problem with newer movies is they always feel too realistic. They always feel like I'm watching, I'm like, okay, this feels too it doesn't feel like I'm watching a movie. It feels like I'm watching, I don't know, it's hard to describe. What I like about older movies that I feel like, yes, I'm watching a movie. When I watch something new, it feels like the thing what I love about Looper is a combination of gangster movie, which I love gangster movies. So one of my first movie loves are gangster movies, and time travel, which I love sci-fi films. So it was a great combination. You have the badass Bruce Willis and the awesome Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Jeff Daniels. You have all these good. I love the clever storytelling. I love the intensity. And I just love the combination of stuff. The use of emotions and triggering. And actions triggering actions. It's kind of a typical time travel movie, but it has a nice gangster element. I like how it portrays the future, where the future's just like, it's like now, only better tech. There's nothing different about it whatsoever. Everything stays the same. I love that, because to me it's so easy to go to the cliched future route with flying cars and shit. And they kind of do a few things, but they make very minimal, like, it's still now type of deal. And why is it so high? Because there's better. Why is I love it so much? It's one of the first current movies I love. And I think why I love it so much is I love how serious it takes itself. I like how it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel formulaic. It doesn't feel generic. It feels like it feels like it feels very it's just a great unique story, and you want both you kind of want to see both sides win, even though you know only one's going to do it. It's very compelling, and it's pretty, and it's kind of surreal too. It's great to I love watching it because to me it's extreme and terrifying in a lot of areas too. So yeah, it's a great movie. It's kind of hard to describe why I love it so much put it in my top 60 because it's just one of those early movies I watched when I was younger that just stuck with me, and I'd watch it again any day. Field of Dreams. Now this is how you do a unique sports movie. This is how this is what for me this is the kind of movie that describes why I love sports and football. Not just kind of the statistics part, but the passion, the history, the legends, you know? And they do it in such kind of not an eerie but kind of a mysterious way that makes you go, okay, where is this going? What is this taking us? And it's acted and filmed so well, and I'm fully invested in everyone. And out of all the sports movies I've seen, and playing sports in high school, I've seen quite a few. This is my favorite, without a doubt. Favorite, and I haven't seen all of them, but this is one of my favorites. I love it's just a good feel-good movie. I just love watching it. I love seeing Kevin Costner and James Earl Jones. I like seeing the passion of baseball, the passion, the history, the just it just feels good watching it. And kind of grand too, which is pretty awesome. There's a little grandness to it, which is awesome. So I love plugging this in and watching it. Fright Night is an excellent example of great 80s horror. Now, 80s horror is awesome. What I love about Fright Night is that it's really a great combination of things. I love the pacing. The pacing is fucking awesome. The effects are fucking great. I like that it's a vampire movie because because fucking Twilight ruined the scary monster genre forever. The vampire, werewolf, or whatever genre. And what's great about Fright Night is that even though here's the thing, you could never watch a Hammer horror film in your life. And in case you're wondering what a Hammer horror film is, quite briefly, it was like a string of horror films from the late 50s throughout the 60s, maybe into the 70s, and they were the first horror movies to incorporate the classic horror cliches like sex, nudity, blood, kind of gory, but it kind of, at the same time, it kind of had a classiness to them that reminisced the old Universal monster movies, and they had a great combination of those. And this movie plays a great tribute to those movies. That style is awesome, and it's definitely an 80s movie too, but what I love about it is that even if you haven't seen a Hammer horror film any time in your life, like I have, you can tell it's a tribute, and a tasteful tribute to them, and it's very steamy, and it's a great example of how to do a horror movie, and not just those stupid supernatural horror films that people are coming up with nowadays, but a horror film that can please gore fans and please traditional horror people too, because it's an actual story. It's an actual story, and that's what I love most about it. It's a great film all around, and I love watching it, and it's awesome. Any horror fan should check Fright Night out. Oh man, Apocalypse Now. What a great Francis Ford Coppola movie. A great Vietnam movie. Got, uh, what's his name? Martin Sheen. Now, I haven't seen a lot of movies that are just Martin Sheen. I mean, that lead Martin Sheen. I mean, I've seen him work with one of Charlie Sheen or Emilio Estevez, and maybe like being the supporting cast, but I never see him really headline a movie like he does in this. Marlon Brando's awesome, even though he's not in a lot, but he plays an incredibly important role. It's very surreal, very gory, and a great look at the Vietnam War. Now, everyone has their favorite Vietnam War movie, and this one isn't my favorite, but it's up there, and it's up there because of how colorful it is. The colors in this movie pop, and it feels like an important movie, and it's just awesome. It's a long movie, but it's awesome, and you feel like the people who made this movie, and the editing's great, the acting's great, everything about it is great. You gotta check it out. It's awesome. now, now after talking about thrillers and horrors, I'm going to talk about The Princess Bride. What I love about this movie is one of the greatest written screenplays I've ever seen in a movie. I mean, it's just so well paced. It's like literally the perfect date movie. I mean, you can watch this with your kids, and it's funny. There's a great romance. It's great acting. There's great action. And I'm not kidding. It has the best subplot in the history of films, without a doubt. Without question. The whole subplot could have been its own movie, but it fits so well in this movie that it's awesome. And everything wraps up nicely. It's actually based on a book. I haven't read it, but I have a copy, and I'm going to read that thing. But this is a great movie, and if you have a girlfriend or a family or whatever, and you just want a good, kind of short movie that you just want to pop in, that you can enjoy, this is a great example. Rebel Without Cause. I already talked about this movie Fenn recommends, so I'm just gonna say, if you want to know what I really love about it, you can pop it out. Just say for short, I love it because it's fucking James Dean, and it's colorful, it's awesome. If you want to know or check out Fenn recommends, but yeah, it's a great movie. I always mispronounce. I don't know if I say the name part of the title right, so I'm just gonna say this movie's awesome. It's a Michael Mann film. Michael Mann's a fucking awesome director, and he hasn't made a lot of movies, but the movies he has made are there. They're with me, and I love them all. His scores are awesome. His cinematography's awesome. This movie is fucking awesome. It's kind of based on true events a little bit. I don't know. It's kind of based on a book. They had some early movies from the back in the day starring Lon Chaney Jr. And what I love about this movie is that you don't know what they're going with the plot, in a good way. You think it's going to be a war movie, but there's a few battles, but it's not really a war movie, really. And it's kind of, there's more to it that's really just about survival in the best, awesomest way possible. And God, that score. The score makes love to my ears. It's awesome. It's a great movie. Check it out. It has the great Daniel Day-Lewis, who's going to retire from acting, which is, even though I know he's old, he could act forever. The guy's fucking awesome guy. Fucking awesome actor. And great movie. You gotta see it. You gotta. Now, this is when I say this part, what I mean by it, you see what I'm doing here is instead of having like for example with Star Wars, instead of having all 8 movies plague my top 60 list, what I decided to do is count the whole franchise of something as one movie and then pick my favorite movie out of the bunch to represent. And that's what I did with Star Wars, with Episode 5 being my favorite, but the whole Star Wars franchise is at this place. See, what I love about this one, and I don't feel like a lot of people talk, see, everyone talks about Star Wars being awesome, but no one really talks about why it's awesome. Besides the obvious. But I think, for me, what's awesome about Star Wars is that, to me, after watching so many classic movies, what I love about Star Wars is that it feels like it was made with a style similar to like older epic movies, something like Lawrence of Arabia, with that epic sweeping score out in the desert and all that. But it's more general audience-esque. It's a little simpler than that. The score, I love Star Wars. I love the idea of the world building, the concepts. I love probably what's so great about these movies is just the characters are memorable. The special effects are awesome. The props are great. They're iconic. They're iconic movies. And they're great action movies. What I love, probably my favorite, if I had to say what stands out for Star Wars for me, is Palpatine. Palpatine is so much fun to watch. And he kind of represents why I love Star Wars. A little over the top, but so enchanting, so investing, so well done that you have to watch it. And is it a flawless franchise? No. But like, why I pick Episode 5? Because, like a lot of people, I like that it's a little darker. It's a little more, there's a bit more edge to it. There's a bit more violence to it. And of course, a great twist. And here's the thing, what I love about this movie, what really surprised me about this movie, I knew what the twist was, and like, because, you know, it's Star Wars, it's everywhere, you're gonna know. You're raised to know. That's the problem, is you get raised to know the twist. But I watched it and I was surprised. Even though I knew the twist, I was still invested. It was so well done, I was still invested in that scene, because it's, even if there was no twist, it's an incredibly powerful scene. And that's what I love about this movie. And this movie is just iconic. And it's a great franchise. It's definitely a great watch. The Lego Movie. See, what I love about the Lego Movie. Now, I'm not a big kid film person, really. Just because they're always too, oh gosh darn it, or oh this and that. It just annoys me. It really gets in there. And they're never good, really. They're usually not very good. What I love about the Lego Movie is creative effort. This film is so fucking creative. There's so much effort. The humor is so, the humor is clever. It's voice acted well. And it's eye candy. And special effects are awesome. The acting's great. It's awesome movie. I'm a big fan. I've seen a lot of the Lego movies. I've seen the Batman Lego movie. I heard the Ninjago Lego movie was kind of technically not really connected and kind of not good, so I skipped that one. But I love these movies. I love the movies they're doing this with, and I can't wait to see more. Oh, the Lord of the Rings movies. Now, what I love about these movies, they're very similar to Star Wars, but I like these movies a bit more than Star Wars. For the reason, and I picked the third one to represent this because, to me, it concludes everything, and it does a great job of it. It's epic, it's awesome, and I like it. What I love about these movies, what makes it, well, first of all, what the guy who directed, I forgot. His name was Peter Jackson. Oh man, if you see my Fenn recommends, he started in horror movies. And I'm like, okay, he went from this to Lord of the Rings. I wonder how he transitioned from that. I'm like, okay, he still has weird horror elements in it. This movie has so many weird horror elements in it. They're not really gory, but if you watch any of his previous stuff, you get it. You get those elements. But what I love about... And they're based on books, of course. And I haven't read the books, but I heard they're awesome, and I have no doubt that they are. But the dialogue, the writing in this movie is so... It's so grabbing. It grabs your soul. It makes you feel. And I love movies like that. Movies that make you feel through words and visuals. And this movie, everything about these movies are perfect. Even the Hobbit prequels, I know everyone, they got a little mixed and everyone likes them, but I thought they were fine. Were they great like the originals? No, but I thought they did the job they served. They were interesting, but I love the Lord of the Rings movies. I thought they were awesome, and they're great. Al Pacino is a fucking awesome actor. I love watching his movies. What's so great about this movie is that it's everything. The climax, everything unites. People at the beginning, all the characters kind of start. They kind of something happens. They kind of talk a little. Then the main character goes on a journey with this guy that he's supposed to babysit because he's blind, played by Al Pacino. And things get very intense. Al Pacino's fun. He won his first Oscar in this movie, and there's a reason why. Because at the end, he gives probably one of my favorite monologues of all time. Just great, epic. That's the best way to describe the ending, epic. And it's epic in the more stripped down sense is that you got to know these characters at the beginning, you haven't seen them throughout the movie, then they come back at the end. And the movie, it's just so much fun to watch. See it all boil down to it. See everyone go down on this character, and then Al Pacino just stands up for him. Al Pacino's character stands up for him in the greatest way possible. And it's a great movie to watch. You gotta watch this movie. It's awesome. I already talked about American Psycho by the time that this review comes out, so I'm not going to say a lot about it other than Christian Bale's fun to watch. It's a great over-the-top horror comedy, and you got to watch it. It's great. The Godfather, man. These are one of the first gangster classics I've seen, The Godfather, and of course I picked the first one. It was this one or the second one. I ended up picking this one because to me, the second one's kind of two movies, and this one it was just one, so something like that. But plus it came first, so it was the one that started it all. But what I love about this movie is just how well the cinematography is probably the best cinematography I've seen in an older movie, and it's so articulate. It feels like, even though it was made in the 70s, it definitely feels like I'm seeing like before then, and it's just beautifully acted. And here's the thing: a lot of the actors I didn't know were in The Godfather. I didn't know James Caan was in The Godfather. I didn't know Robert Duvall was in The Godfather. I didn't know Al Pacino was in The Godfather. Of course, you can tell this was way back when I started watching movies. I didn't know shit. But I love these movies. I like binge watching them. And yeah, third one, a little rougher, but I love the third one. I think the third one's great in its own right, but the first two are awesome. You gotta watch them. They're widely available. You gotta see them. They're great gangster movies. It's a must-have. Now this movie, there was an original movie, and both of them are excellent. But I ended up picking this one, really because, Robert De Niro. That's all I have to say. Robert De Niro is great in this movie. This is one of my first De Niro movies. He's awesome. Everything about this movie is awesome. It's a little weird. It's a bit artistic. It's very it's very just, it feels like it was filmed, it has a 60s style to it, but it's so obviously early 90s, and I love that, and it's just, I just love it. It's just a well-written thriller. It's a great remake of an original. Now, of course, watch the original, because the original is badass, too. The original is very badass, but this one is definitely, I end up picking this one because, like I said, just Robert De Niro. But watch both. Definitely watch both. Maltese Falcon. This movie, what I love about this movie is that you want to know what the fuck the Maltese Falcon is. And the thing is that, and the whole movie is great in building that up, and you want to see what it is, and you finally see it, but then things take a different turn. At the end, everything kind of shifts, and you realize that it wasn't really about finding and you realize, you know what? It could have easily been, sorry, but, it could have easily been like, they found it, or whatever, but what makes this film great is when they do find it and how they respond to it. What happens? What they do after that. And the way the film builds up, how the characters get to know each other, and how it ends, you get a little... It's kind of surprising, and it's very mysterious. You really want to know what the fuck it is. And Humphrey Bogart's awesome, and yeah, I mean, lots of films are great, and everything about this film is great. I like how it ends. I like how it's a little, yeah, it's definitely a must-watch. I will warn you, this movie's very fucking hard to find on DVD. It took me forever to find it, but it was well worth it. And yeah, it's definitely a good watch. I talked about Justus Madre before. I will tell you this, Casablanca, I'm just going to tell you straight up, Casablanca isn't on my list, and it's not like I don't love Casablanca, I love Casablanca, but I think what makes this film stand out to me that whole Casablanca thing, that's a whole different discussion. Basically, it's not really on there because, I don't know, I love it, I may watch it another day and it may crack in there. But right now, Maltese Falcon, awesome movie, definitely a must watch. I don't know if this was this the first Quentin Tarantino movie I see? I don't think so. I think that honor goes to Django Unchained. But Quentin Tarantino, what I love about him, he's just such a, he is the extremist. He goes full board. He doesn't give a fuck, and I love that about him. He does it, and he does it well. And what I love about Reservoir Dogs, first, his debut movie. What I love about this one is just, the thing is, I love all of his movies. I haven't seen all of them, but I love all of his movies. And because he kind of has that, they're kind of connected vibe to them, and that's what I love about them. Similar style, but unique stories. What I love about this one is just the greatest factor of all. And it's kind of going to spoiler territory, but not really, is that they show everything but the actual robbery in the plot. The bank robbers, they show them planning the heist. They show after the heist, but they never show the actual heist. And they rearrange it, and that's what I love about it, is that this movie shows that you don't always have to show what happens. Because what happens is important, but what can even be more important, what can actually now you control the whole movie is the people. The people that are about to do it and after they do it, and the consequences of those actions. And that's what I love about it. And it's pretty fucking awesome. I love turning it on. I love the camera work. The camera work's fucking awesome. I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack good. I like what they do with the radio and shit. It's great. I love watching it all the time. I will say this: the first one's my favorite, but the second one has my favorite ending. And what I love about these movies is just, what I love watching them is I just love the world it events. And I love the characters. The characters are awesome. I love the athleticism. I love the epicness to it. I love the score. I like how in the first one, what I like most about the first one is the first one has the most seriousness to it. The second one is very similar to that, but to me, the second one is more. There's a couple repeat moments in it, and the first one just has a little more impact to me, but with the second, the ending to it's awesome. I love the whole franchise, even Rocky V that gets bashed so much. I love. The only one I haven't seen is Rocky Balboa, which is is a shame. It's a shame on me part. I gotta watch that, but I've seen all the rest of them, even Creed, and I love this one the most because it just, like I said, it's just harder edge, which I like, and I like seeing how everything unfolds. I like seeing the iconicness. It's America. It's just uplifting. Especially the ending to the second one. My God, what a great ending. The first one ends great too, but the second one, to me, if the whole series ended at Rocky 2, I would have been content. That was a perfect way to end the series, but they kept going, which was fine because the rest of the movies are great too, in their own rights, but yeah, I just love this. I just love the franchise. It's a great franchise. Ah, Mad Max movies. These are great. I was when I first put together this quite a long time ago. I was curious, should I just have Road Warrior or Fury Road? And I was kind of curious because they're very similar, but I picked Fury Road because to me, they captured everything great about Mad Max, but they amplified it. They did one thing that the other ones didn't quite grab. It's investing supporting characters. Now, the supporting characters in the Mad Max movies before Fury Road, they were great. They were great in their own right. But what I love about the supporting characters in this one is that they feel a little more heartfelt. They felt more innocent. They felt not as backstabbing out on your own. They felt like we need your help, and I like that. I like the colors in the Fury Road was awesome, and the effects were great. I saw it in 3D, which is awesome. What I love about the older Mad Max movies, you see, I watched the second one first, and then I watched the first one later. And then I watched it's funny. Beyond Thunderdome. People give shit to Beyond Thunderdome, but it's a fine movie. And in all honesty, it delivers on a lot of things. And it's hardcore in its own right. The storytelling is much more conventional than the other two. The other two are more visual storytelling, while the third one's more conventional. But I have to say, Mel Gibson is in these movies. I love him in these movies. I love how these movies are visual. The car chases are awesome. The characters are unique and memorable. And Fury Road tops it because it really improves on all of them, and it takes the best out of the whole franchise and improves in areas that are debatably weak, and that's what I love about it. And it's just awesome movies. They're fantastic. Stanley Kubrick, what a great director. I haven't put a list of great directors, but I can tell you if he's not number one, he's definitely up there because I love this guy as a director. His films, I love his films, and Doctor Strangelove is what I love about Doctor Strangelove. It's another great example of how to do a good comedy, and Peter Sellers. I never really knew about this guy before I watched this movie, and I saw this movie, and I'm like, I gotta see more movies with this guy. Peter Sellers is fucking awesome, and I find it hilarious. And I will warn you, while there are jokes sprinkled in throughout the movie, probably the funniest part of the movie, in my opinion, is towards the end. But Doctor Strangelove, he's a funny guy. He's a funny character. And I just love it's well paced. And oh, hold on a sec, someone's coming down. Sorry, I had to jump up there, just interruption. But anyway, Doctor Strangelove. It's like I said, it's a I just love it. It's just well directed, well shot. The editing's great. The acting's amazing, especially by Peter Sellers, and it's just awesome. Oh, and George C. Scott, he's an amazing actor, and I just love seeing him act, and he's great. He's awesome. He's definitely. You see, even this is kind of very off subject, but even as I'm talking about these movies, I'm remembering movies that I've seen that I actually haven't put on the list yet that I love. See, so even after this, after a while, I may update the list. But in all honesty, it's just I will update the list, and it will change. But yeah, it's awesome movie. Great LA Confidential. The movie has like 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is a great period mystery piece starring Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, and of course everyone's favorite guy to hate on nowadays, Kevin Spacey. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, but I love this movie, and I love Kevin Spacey movies before the whole thing going on with him. I'm gonna love the movies after. I mean, they're too ingrained in my mind. I can't stop it. But minus that, but it's a great. It takes place in the 50s as a cop mystery crime starring Guy Pearce. One of the. It's so funny. Guy Pearce, to me, the way he acts reminds me of a prick version of Brad Pitt, like Brad Pitt's prickish brother, which is kind of awesome. But yeah, it's just what I love. It's a great mystery. You want to know what's going on. You want to know what's happening. You're very involved. There's a lot of twists and turns, and it's well shot, well acted, and it just truly feels like a good movie. And it's just, it really pulls you in. It's really in the 50s, in the hardcore 50s, and that's what I love about it. It's pretty cool. Now we're really getting up to the good ones. The Ten Commandments. Oh my God. You see, this is how you do a movie based on the Bible. Not like fucking Noah. Oh my God, Noah was awful, but that's a whole different list. But The Ten Commandments by Cecil B. DeMille and directed by Cecil B. DeMille. He actually made this movie from a movie back in the 30s, but this movie is awesome. The special effects. I cannot praise the special effects enough. Awesome special effects. Great sets. Great acting. Great everything. And here's the thing, even it's Old Testament Bible, and what I love about this movie that sets it apart from other religious movies is that it doesn't get, it's kind of wrong, but it doesn't get too wrapped up in itself. It doesn't get too OCD on, oh, this and that and whatever. It's a story first and foremost. Okay? And it doesn't get too wrapped up on what's a sin and what's not a sin or whatever. It tells the story how it is. It's like, alright, it picks and chooses, it sticks with its rules, and it just, I love it for that. It doesn't get too, like, OCD cultish. It's like, it takes the story, it interprets it in its own way, it doesn't obsess over itself, it lets the characters be characters, and that's what I love about it. And this is how you do a religious movie, in my opinion. And I love it for it. I saw this movie I was hanging out with someone at the time. We went to see this movie because it was part of her assignment. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know what we were going to go see. I didn't know anything. I went in, it was French subtitled. It had subtitles, but it was a French independent movie. Probably, really the only independent movie, international movie I've seen that has really stuck with me. And what I love about this movie is that it's so sexually aggressive. It makes you think. It's kind of it can be very serious, but it's also very funny, and it can be kind of frightening too. It kind of crosses genres in a kind of few areas, and so it's very sexually fueled. And there's a lot of twists and turns, and there's a lot of humor in it. Kind of a little, not really dark humor, but kind of awkward, kind of haha. That's kind of weird humor, but still awesome. But man, it's just a great movie. This is, for me, this is like, it takes a very controversial subject and it tackles it well. And it may not be for everyone, but I love watching movies like these. Movies are like, we're going to talk about sex, we're going to show it, we're going to talk about it, we're going to be frank with it, and it holds no bars, and I love it for that. I already talked about in Fenn Recommends. I'm not going to go more depth. Just a weird, scary weird, but awesomely compelling movie. What I love, well, first of all, Jake Gyllenhaal's awesome. What I love about Nightcrawler, it's the story of one. The thing is, we don't know a lot about the subject character. It's probably one of my favorite character studies ever, because we see him grow, we see him evolve, but we still don't know everything about him. We don't know his life. We don't really know what he is as like a person. I mean, we know what he is like a person, but we don't know his history. We don't know his likes and dislikes. To me, he comes across as one of the smartest survivors ever. Just ruthless, cunning, very cold, but very ambitious. And to me, if you're going to do a current... This is a great example of doing a current movie. The pacing's great. The characters are there's not a shit ton of characters. There's just enough for you to get invested in everything. And by the time it ends, you don't want it to end. You want it to continue. You want to see how far he can go. You want to see how far he can keep going before something bad happens. And they need to do a sequel. I want to see more. It was awesome. I would watch it again in a heartbeat. The score's awesome. Cinematography's awesome. It's a great movie. Now, Clive Barker has made a lot of horror movies. He's one of probably my favorite horror writers that I haven't actually read a book of his, but I've watched a lot of his movies. There's Hellraiser, which I haven't really talked about, but I'll probably talk about it soon. Nightbreed, which I talked about before, and Candyman. Candyman is probably my favorite of his. And the thing is that it's a horror movie, but what I love about it is Candyman himself. The way his character, you don't really know a lot about him right away. There's a little build up to him, and when he is in kind of a different kind of build up, a mixture of build ups to him and his character, and to me it's another great example of doing a horror movie. Be awesomely gory, but don't be cliched gory. Kind of be like, build up to stuff. Kind of have it be eerie. Kind of have it be atmospheric. The score is great in this movie. And by the time it ends, you'll feel something for this character that you'll never think you would feel for him by the beginning. And I have to say, it made me feel, it made me think, and it influences me greatly. It's a great movie to watch. It's probably my favorite Clive Barker film, but I understand if other people... I understand some people may have issues with it, like pacing or something, but like I said, I just love this movie. I love Clive Barker, I love this movie, and it's just great. Risky Business. Tom Cruise's breakout movie. What I love about this movie is just kind of... It's a very 80s movie, but it feels very like... It's well acted, well done. You feel like they go just enough in this movie. They go just enough, like, they don't try to go too much. They don't try, like for example, could easily make Tom Cruise try to get into some weird fight with a gangster or whatever. They don't go too far. They make it like, okay, this is very far-fetched, but it can happen. It can. And it's a great movie. Like, you know what I like about this movie is, like, you know what, the message is like, you know what, fuck it. You know, like, sometimes when shit goes to shit, you just gotta go for the gold. You just gotta go for it and get the memory. And if shit fails, shit fails. You just gotta go with the flow. And that's what I love about this movie. See, good things can work out. Now, things can get worse, but things can work out. That's what I love about this movie. And it's scored great. It's kind of coming of age, but it kind of goes a more shadier way to it. Shadier, kind of, not like shady, like super shady, but a little bit seedy. Not terribly seedy, but kind of more like Trailer Park Boy seedy. Trailer Park Boy shady. Not like over the top shady, but kind of enough where it's like, okay, we're kind of doing something we shouldn't be doing, but it's still gonna be fine. You know, that's why I love about Risky. And Tom Cruise is awesome. Tom Cruise is always awesome, and this is one of my favorite of his. Probably one of the most batshit older movies I have ever seen. It is so, when it first came out, it was a lot of people. It was successful, but there was a lot of uproar because a large part of the story was kind of the fall of stars, famous actors, actresses, the fall of them, specifically the silent films. When people saw this for the first time, they kind of, especially the silent film stars, they're kind of like, they're like, I don't think I'm like that. You know, it's kind of like that, but it's a great film noir. It's very atmospheric. It's very kind of eerie. There's a little bit, it's a bit shadier. It's one of the shadier older movies, in all honesty. It's very all top. The lead actress, she is so over the top. Hilariously, and kind of hilariously at times, but also kind of scary and a little sympathetic. She like covers all shades of over the topness in it. It's just very complex and a lot of twists and turns. And it's kind of, you kind of know at the beginning a fate of a character, but you're still invested. It kind of goes that route with it, which is a great route to do. When you do it right, it's great, because then it's like, then the best part about it is that it makes you forget the fate of the character, and when it's about to happen, you're like, oh wait, maybe it won't happen. You know, you kind of still want it not to happen, even though you kind of know it does. And that's what I love about it. And it's old, it's awesome. Cinematography is great. Everything about it's great. You gotta watch it. You gotta. Oh, Heathers. Another great example of a good 80s comedy. Starring the great Winona Ryder. It is such a dark comedy. It's a great dark comedy. Probably my favorite dark comedy, in all honesty. It's kind of dark and violent, but it's also, it's a satire film that it kind of points out how our society idolizes people after they're dead. Especially young teenagers, people who went out too young. It idolizes that. And it points out, it makes fun of it. And you have characters kind of contrast with what they believe and what they want to happen. A little more anarchy, or a little bit more control, or a little more balance. And it's a great, funny, dark movie with pretty aggressive, but still, it's just one of those movies that's the thing about it, you can apply it today. You can definitely grab this movie and you can apply it today, and it would fit like a glove. It would fit like a glove, without a doubt. And watch it yourself, and you might see it. You might see it if you watch it. Mr. Nobody, man. This movie is trippy as fuck. And it stars the great Jared Leto. Now, everyone is bashing him for his Joker performance, but believe it or not, he is an Oscar winner actor. He was in another movie that I haven't seen that was in 2000, Requiem for a Dream. I heard that was excellent, but what I love about this movie's trippy sci-fi, very awesome. Is it hard to follow? For the most part, yeah. At first it can be hard to follow, but if you can figure out the pace of the story, which is where and when, it's pretty easy. You may need to watch it a second time, but it's well worth it. What I love about this film the most is the message. And, you know what, I'm just gonna say it. What I love about the message is that no matter what you choose to do, good and bad things will happen to you. It really doesn't matter what you choose, because good things and bad things will happen to you no matter what. So you just gotta choose. And I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit, but that's what the message I got when I watched the film for the first time. And I have to say, I love that message, because to me, it's like, because we spend all our lives, we spend time worrying about, what if I choose this, and this happens, or that happens. So I love this message. It's just like, the guy's like, it doesn't matter. I can go this way or that way, and good things and bad things will happen to me. It doesn't matter. You just gotta choose, and you just gotta live with it, no matter what. And that's what I love about it. It's a great message for a great film. The George A. Romero zombie films. You see, God rest his soul, he was an awesome horror director. I haven't seen all his horror movies, but the zombie films, he created, you know how Walking Dead and all the current zombie films are right now, movies and shows are like right now? He's the one that started that template. And here, he's made, what I consider his four is Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, and Land of the Dead. Now, of course, he's made more zombie films after Land of the Dead, but I don't really count them, because one, they're not as good, and second, they don't really follow the arc. What I like about, I haven't seen those old ones, so I might change mine if I do, but what I like about them is that all four movies, they don't share any characters. Each cast is different. But the thing that continues is the deterioration of the world. Like, Night of the Living Dead, that's day one of the zombie apocalypse. Dawn of the Dead, everything takes place on, like, day, like, 40 or whatever. Day is, like, maybe, like, 10 months, maybe a year. Maybe a little less than that, but... And then Land is, like, years. That's what I love about them. What I like about these movies is that they're zombies, and what I like about Night of the Living the most is the fact that it's in black and white. I like the score, and I like how simple it is. You have these simple group of characters. They're isolated. They have zombies everywhere. They don't know what they are. You're learning what they are as they go, and there's enough action. There's enough twists. There's enough moments. And some of these characters, well, you could say that the movie's a bit campy. It's a simple look at the beliefs. One person believes this way, the other person believes the other. And it's a survival story, and it's a great survival story, because to me, I feel like they're genuine characters. I want to root for them. I want them to survive. I want to see them get out of there. And what I love about it is that what makes me love this one over the other ones is that, to me, this one feels the most... It feels the most... It's hard to say. It feels very... I like how it feels independent. It's an independent movie when it came out. I like how it's just, we put this together, here's our product. And that's what I love about it. I like that it is terrifying. It's a little campy, but to me it's terrifying. There's a moment at the end that's just like, holy shit, what the fuck? and It is a little gory. It's not terribly gory, but there are definitely moments where you're like, okay, that's pretty gory. Singular moments, but moments nonetheless. There was a remake of this movie in 1990 by the makeups guy who worked with George A. Romero on these movies, and that one's pretty good too. Not as good as this one, but pretty solid. I recommend seeing that one too, but I may talk about that one in a recommend video. But yeah, I like. It starts with these characters, it ends with these characters. I love it. It's and the rest of them. And the rest of them, they kind of get more hard R. This one was a little bit more censored. But what I like about these movies is, first of all, the zombies evolve. They evolve and they do things a bit differently throughout the movies. And especially in Land, Day of the Dead is when it starts. The first Night and Dawn, they're pretty much the same. But yeah, I like how he keeps things changing. He keeps upping the ante with the movies he did. And I like how it starts with night, because to me, it captures to me what's a great horror film is that it's not cliched. You don't really see, it's well paced, good action, and I love it because it's just a great example of a zombie movie. And it's a little campy, but it has great political messages. It has great everything, and on a very amateur budget. And it's a great influence on me of filming. Really, it's a great movie. Pulp Fiction, probably my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. It's not. I've seen a lot of his movies. In all honesty, I don't think it's his goriest movie. But what I love about this movie is just, I like how it's all about a week, give or take. And you have all these different characters, they're doing all these different things, and you're not telling them in order, and I love that. Because when you don't tell them in order, they feel more like these character stories, Movies that take place around the same time instead of one movie where we're jumping from character to character all the time, which I love. All of them are awesome. The philosophy, I like John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson. I like how they just shoot. What I love about Quentin Tarantino movies is that how he has his characters just shoot the shit, just talk about whatever. It doesn't have to do anything with the movie. What I love about that is that the best part of that feature is you learn about the characters. You learn about how they feel about things. You learn about who they are. You learn about anything really, and a lot of times you get sucked into that conversation. You want to participate, and you're like, "Wait, how about this or that or whatever?" It's great, and this movie does a great job of it. And it's dramatic. It's fun to watch. You really want to see these characters, and the surroundings are great. Pulp Fiction, it may not be his goriest or his most mindfuck movie. But in terms of just being overall great in every single ingredient of filmmaking and Quentin Tarantino movies in general, this one tops it really. And I could watch this movie really anytime. I can watch any of his films anytime. Any one of these films can be a top movie, but Pulp Fiction hits it because to me, Pulp Fiction just took something. I'm trying to find how to describe it. It just takes. God, I'm hitting a speed bump with what I'm thinking. All right, Pulp Fiction. It just stands out as the best because it has the best everything. It has the best acting out. They're all great. Any one of them can be up here, but I pick Pulp Fiction because to me because it's the most iconic. It's the most well known, and to me he does in this movie. What I notice, he does a little bit of everything in this movie. He doesn't really overshadow any element in one area, but he does a little bit of everything in these movies. And probably the best part about these movies are the individual stories and the characters. I want to see them continue. And the rest of his movies are kind of like that. But to me, what makes great about this one is that I want to see more. Just like the rest of them, I want to see more. It's great because it it has it's the most iconic. That's what makes them great. Great. It's the most iconic, and I love it for that. This is probably my favorite holiday movie. It's not a Christmas movie, it's a Thanksgiving movie, but it's one of my favorite holiday movies. And while there may be other movies up here on the list that are kind of under the comedy category, for me, if I'm looking for like a straight up comedy, this is probably my favorite. And it's my favorite because I haven't seen all the great comedies ever, so my mind may change. But great lines, great comedic acting, realistic, relatable situations, simple story, not a ton at stake, but enough where you're like, okay, if he misses it, it's fine, he'll live, but you kind of want him to. You want to see the journey continue, and you know what? This story goes in certain directions that keeps it fresh and unique, and it's a John Landis film, right? Is that how you say his name? No, John Hughes, not John Landis. I'm sorry, that's a different guy. John Hughes. This is my favorite John Hughes film. Now, you notice there's a lot of movies I love of his, like Ferris Bueller, Breakfast Club. I haven't seen all of his, but this one and those other two are the big three for me. This one really tops those because to me, this one just has that adult edge to it that I love. Those ones are great, and I love how they capture teenagerism, but to me, this one I picked this one because to me, this one just has the right elements to me that makes a great dramatic comedy adult movie. And I could watch it anytime and I'll laugh. It's awesome. I love watching it. For me, it's not like this is comedy that all movies have to do, but this is the type of comedy that I enjoy greatly. Alright, I already talked about Metropolis in the video. Watch the Fenn Recommends video, because it'll take too long for me to talk about it now, but it's a great movie, set up sci-fi, one of the greatest films ever, probably the greatest silent film ever, really. I mean, kind of debatable, but it's awesome, you gotta watch it. Donnie Darko. Now, it's a cult classic, and Jake Gyllenhaal's debut movie, and what I love about this movie is that it makes you curious. And what I mean by curious is that not necessarily like overall you feel curious throughout the movie per se, but curious on stuff. And it's like, you don't really think about it till the end. When you get to the end, you're like, I want to see them keep going with this. And what makes this film great is that you don't always understand what it means, but you don't really have to understand what it means. What you have to understand is why they want to understand it, what it means to them. And is it confusing? Oh yeah, it can be confusing as fuck. But the thing is that it's not just all about those confusing elements. These characters, they do live, they do experience more than just the... Well, you see, the biggest thing is that the characters are going through events in their lives. And the main guy, he's going through all these things, but there's the one element, the one X factor that's complete fucks everything up, and he's feeling that X factor, and he is exploring that X factor, and it's weird and it's kind of unexplainable. And while he's doing that, he's experiencing, everything else in life, and soon they kind of play a part. It's very, and by the end, he's like, I want to see this continue. I think they can continue with this. Of course, they never do. Unfortunately, it's too late now, but they should have. And I love watching this movie. I learn something different every time I watch it, and it just has greatness in it, really, and I can watch it anytime, and I love it. The great Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane is just an awesome movie. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's boring. You see, talk movie, sure, but it's exciting in other means. It's exciting because of the lighting, the editing, the cinematography, the acting, the grandness, the angles. All those things get me excited. And the story. The story is intriguing because I want to know about this guy. And it's an Orson Welles movie. Orson Welles is fucking awesome. And I can watch his shit all day, when he has it. But it's a great influence. There's a reason why people... You see, this is my problem. When people think of greatest movies of all time, people kind of shrug it off as critics' choice. But here's the thing. There's a reason why movies get labeled greatest movies ever. There's a reason. It's because they're good. Not just good by like a few snobby critics. A few snobby critics or whatever. They're great because everyone loves it. Critics and audience. And this is a great example of that. It's pretty hard to find. I mean, you can find DVD copies of it, but they're typically very expensive. And in all honesty, it's a bit older movie, so if you're gonna buy it, you might as well get the Blu-ray version. The DVD version, I haven't really watched the DVD version of it. I own the Blu-ray version, but in all honesty, I would just get the Blu-ray one. But Orson Welles, he writes, he directs it, he stars in it, and it's awesome. And I could watch it. The cinematography just makes love to my eyes. It's just an awesome, great movie. You gotta watch it. It's one of the greatest ever. And the worst you can feel is that you watched an old movie that was awesome. I mean, it's a win-win if you watch this movie. It's great. See, this Superman movies with Christopher Reeve, these older ones, the first one's my favorite without doubt. The second one's good, but what I love about the Superman movies, I just like how they are uplifting. They kind of have a Marvel vibe with them. It's like, they're a little serious when they have to be, but they're also very fun as well. And it's kind of funny, a little campy, and maybe a touch corny in a few areas, but it's uplifting as fuck. The special effects hold up 95% of the time. There's one or two instances where they might stand out a bit, but in all honesty, with today's CGI splooge fest everywhere, they're probably still better. And because at least they're practical for the most part. And they have great build-up. And you see Superman do stuff, you see him interact. And Christopher Reeve, what a great actor. And Superman, unfortunately, the Superman movies are really the only movies. He's been in tons of other stuff. Some of the stuff is good, but not a lot of lead roles, which is kind of a shame. He gets a lot of supporting roles, and there's a few lead roles, but if you see anything with Christopher Reeve that isn't Superman, you might as well buy it, because you'll probably love it, unless it's... Look it up first. But anyway, it's like, this movie's great. I love the franchise, and even the Brandon Routh film is pretty solid, in my opinion. But, 3 is alright. It has one great scene. 2 is awesome, although the Richard Donner and Richard Lester cut's a little confusing, but in all honesty, probably which cut's better? I don't really know of the sequel which cut is better. I would keep an eye out. There's a Richard Donner cut and there's a Richard Lester cut. The Richard Donner, I need to reanalyze that, but the first one's my favorite. It represents it, and the score is awesome too. The score is great. I get chills every time I hear it. It's awesome. And I love this movie. It's great. Terminator 2. The Terminator franchise I love. Now, Terminator 1 could have easily been in this place instead of Terminator 2, but I picked Terminator 2 because it's great like the first one, but it improves, but it steps up in every way. It's like, alright, the first one was great, we're going to make this one greater. And it matches expectations and exceeds them. And I love Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. This is a great example of a great movie. I love the atmosphere. I love the score. I love the action. It's well executed. It's awesome. Third one was great. Not awesome. awesome, but I liked it and I liked it well. Salvation, kind of underrated, but I get not the love, and I think it's a fine watch. Then there's Genesis. I actually think Terminator Genesis was a great movie. I will say though, I like the first part a bit more than the second part, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, Terminator 2, great movie. Arnold's awesome. Everything's great. It's a must watch for anyone. Well, I picked Frankenstein, but I'm really going to be talking about the whole Universal monster movie universe, like Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, and so on. I will say these about these movies. When I was first getting to know movies, when I heard about these movies, I just kind of looked down upon them. I'm like, oh, when I first read Frankenstein, I'm like, oh my god, they had this book and they trashed it with that old 1931 movie because I thought it was trash. But then, over time through research, I realized, you know what, these movies are actually good. When I looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes and whatever, the numbers were just so overwhelmingly positive by critics and audience, and I'm like, oh my god, I was completely wrong. And I finally got the big 30 movie pack. It doesn't have every single Universal horror movie, but it has all the big 30 monster movies. Close enough. It's good. And I love it. And I love all those movies. Even the worser ones have good things about them. They're not all hits, but usually the first ones are great. Frankenstein I pick as my favorite because, in all honesty, I read the story. It's probably one of my favorite stories, and I just love the story. And in all honesty, out of all the horror movie franchises, I'm not gonna lie, Frankenstein has the best stream of sequels, without a doubt. It has the best continuing story. The first one's great. The second one's great. The third one is great too. Fourth one, a little rough, but still great. And it keeps going on from there. The Dracula movie is great. I love the horror monster movies in general. All of them are great. Well, at least the first ones. The first ones, you got to dig around a bit, but they're all great. Creature from the Black Lagoon, probably the one that exceeded my expectations was Creature from the Black Lagoon, especially the first one. The second one was good, but I like the third one a bit more. But yeah, the Mummy movies, disappointment. None of them disappointed me. The Mummy movies, I guess I didn't expect any. I expected not more, but I expected something a bit different. But it was kind of weird. The first movie they kind of went one direction, but the rest of them they kind of went a different way with the creature, and it's kind of strange. But the sequels are usually pretty decent. Not anything to get over, except for that one scene, and I don't know if it's the fourth or fifth one, but there's this one scene that's fucking awesome. It's like a female mummy rising up for the first time, and it's fucking awesome. And they do it greatly, and I love. And by the way, but anyway, Frankenstein is awesome. You gotta watch the old Universal monster movies. Most of the special effects are pretty cool. Are there moments where they're kind of a little weak? Sure, but like I said before, if you really think about it, are they any weaker than the splooge CGI-ness that we get nowadays? Now, I don't hate CGI at all. I mean, Terminator 2 uses a decent amount of CGI, but when it's like, oh, bad CGI is bad special effects, do we have any right to get any more upset when they have bad effects in the older movies? Nah, my opinion, no. But in fact, I still give them more credit. But yeah, Frankenstein, I love the story. I love the act. The acting's good. Love the creature. I love everything. I love the grand scope of everything, and it's a little gruesome too, especially at the beginning. But yeah, I love these movies. Great movies. Great example of horror movies. You have to watch them. At least the good ones. If you don't want to watch, I understand if you don't want to watch the bad ones, even though the bad ones themselves have great moments in them too. But yeah, great movies. And also, Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein. Abbott and Costello, great comedy duo. I love those comedies too, for the most part. Some of them are a little weaker, but especially Me Frankenstein's their best one though. Yeah, the Marvel movies are awesome. They're great. I mean, they have a few things that I would like to do differently, like more established villains or whatever, but they're awesome, entertaining films. But my favorite, though, is the first Avengers movie. And to me, I saw it in theaters for the first time I watched it. It was packed theaters in 3D. And what makes this movie great is that it changed the way people thought about making films and stories forever. It changed them forever. I mean, granted, the Universal Monster movies was really the first studio to think, let's collaborate all our monsters together. And they did, and they were the first. But they didn't really go further with it. Avengers, the Marvel Universe, they took a concept that can go on forever, and they executed it, and they showed it can be done. And Avengers, that first experience watching that movie, seeing the characters built up the way they were, seeing them all interact with each other the way they did, see them fight with each other the way they did, see how it end. At technical levels, they're all amazing. And all those characters fighting them, and to me, that'll always leave an impact to me. It's a grand movie, and it's an important movie, because not only from within that world, it's important because it's the first time all those heroes connected after going on their own adventures. But what's also important outside of that is that, like I said, it changes everything. Nowadays, all the studios want to do crossovers. All the studios want to have their own movie universes. But I will say this, so far none of them have really got up there. The only one that has been successful so far, besides Marvel, is the Godzilla monster movies. But they only done two. They done Godzilla and King Kong. And both of them were good. I've seen both. But that's a whole different discussion. But yeah, I love Marvel movies. They're awesome. When I talk about DC movies, it's kind of a shame. I'm kind of holding hope. It's a whole different discussion though, but oh my god, I just noticed I don't have Wonder Woman up here. I guess I don't have Wonder Woman up yet because I don't have a DC film in this list because I'm still waiting on them. I mean, Wonder Woman was great, but it's kind of a more solo adventure. I'm still waiting for them to get something a bit... I'm seeing something else because that's a solo adventure. Whatever. You know, I'm waiting for DC. I love Wonder Woman, but I'm still waiting for them to keep going with it. But yeah, Marvel is 14. I love all the movies. Avengers is my favorite, and they're great movies. All of them should be watched. Netflix movies, everything else is a different story, but you gotta watch the Marvel movies. They're not only great from an entertaining skill, but they're so important to the development of film. I'm not kidding when I said they were probably the major breakthrough of film making in terms of storytelling and world building ever. And they may not have been the first, but they're the ones that did it from the get-go with that in mind. They're the first ones to think we're going to do world building on day one. The Universal Monster movies, they kind of came up with it a little after the fact when they started making them like, oh, I guess we're going to do that. Marvel's like, we're going to do it and it's going to change everything. And it did. And it's still awesome. And I still watch them all in the theaters. And you gotta see them. They're very, very great. I bought the book at a garage sale, an older copy, and I read the whole thing. And what I love about this movie, is it a little racist? Kind of. But the thing about the movie is that the racism is part of that environment. It's based in the South, a little during and after the Civil War. It's going to be racist down there. But the thing is that the racism, while it's part of the story, it's only an extension of the central character herself. And at the heart of it, it's a romance story, but it's not a particularly uplifting love story. To me, it reminds me, if you combine Scarface with a love story and put it all in the South, that's what it reminds me of in terms of cinematography and storytelling. And Clark Gable, what an amazing actor. He's been in other great movies I love. They're not on top 60, unfortunately, because can't have everything in top 60, but it's a great movie. And you know what? They could have, and you know, it was made in 1939, and the book is so harsh. It's so harsh on the characters and what happens to them. And the movie does not let up. Do they cut a couple characters out? Sure, but they only cut out what the characters that, if you cut them from the book, it would be fine. But they kept the stuff that impact the book, and they cut out the stuff that was just little extras, which is fine because the movie's super long anyway. But yeah, when those characters go through that hardship, they don't let up. It is a tragic movie, and I love every second of it. It's a great movie, and it's old, sure, but it's well done, top notch, and it's not your fairy tale movie. It's hardcore. It's real, and if you want your expectations exceeded, you gotta watch this movie. Now, Blade Runner. I've already talked about the Blade Runner movies. Like I said before, atmospheric, great use of the feels, just awesome movies. Now, another Michael Mann film. This is my favorite of his. This is one of my favorite movies because each character you're invested in. The music is great. They get every single awesome actor they can get, and they put them in this movie. Each character has their own storyline. Each character has their own thing. Each character, in the way they have Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. And, before I forget, Val Kilmer. He's one of my favorite actors ever. And he's in this movie, and great actor. I wish he was in more stuff, but yeah, the way Al Pacino, I just wanted to mention that because that's important to me, Val Kilmer. But Robert and Al Pacino, the way they build those two up, opposing sides, and the way they meet, the way they talk, and then they go do their thing, and it's just so. It's a crime thriller. You have all these characters. They have their own storylines. It's a crime epic with epic actors, epic characters, epic score, epic director, epic everything. It is an epic of the 90s. Sorry about that, guys. Well, I had to unplug something. That's why there's a little blue tint on the side, and my battery died. But yeah, Heat. I was just about to end. It's an amazing movie, pretty awesome, and you gotta check it out. It's widely available. It's awesome. And now, Platoon. Glorious, glorious, glorious Platoon. My favorite war movie, Vietnam War movie. And it's my favorite because it makes me feel small. And what I mean by that is when you watch it, you feel like you're in the forest. You feel like you feel low in the dirt. You feel with Charlie Sheen and William Dafoe and Tom Bergener. You feel like you're with them. It's directed by awesome Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone's a great director. And I love how it makes me feel. I love feeling a part of them. I like seeing Charlie Sheen from day one there and all the way, what he encounters, the epic score, the way it feels. And here's the thing, Oliver Stone was in the Vietnam War. He fought. He was a veteran in the Vietnam War. And So when he made this movie, it's based on his experiences. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what it's feeling, and it transcends it. And I think this is why I pick it over a movie like Apocalypse Now, is because you feel that experience. You feel it. You feel the grandness, the epicness, the way it ends, the way it begins. I just love this movie. William Dafoe, Tom Bergeron, Charlie Sheen, man, I love Charlie Sheen. He's a great actor. It's a shame that he's kind of where he's at now. I wish he'd just start. I mean, he's kind of doing stuff, but I wish he'd go back to the Platoon, Wall Street level again. That would be awesome. But yeah, great movie. You gotta watch it. It's a great war movie. Everyone has their own taste with Vietnam War movies. I mean, they're all great in their own right, but I love Platoon because it just, to me, what it captures about the Vietnam War the most is the experience part. It feels very smartly and expertly recorded for the person to see. And that's why I love it the most, is probably because it made me feel like I was there with them. The other movies, like Apocalypse Now, I mean, it's a different movie. And I love it too. Maybe one day it could be where Platoon is, but I love Platoon because it's just great. It's kind of hard for me to differ from film to film how great they are, because they're all great in their own right. But I just love this movie, and it just has everything that, in my opinion, when you do a great war movie, it feels important. Because the thing with Apocalypse Now is, the difference is also the plot. Apocalypse Now has more a specific plot to it. Platoon, it's simple. It's soldiers just trying to survive the war. And it's done so greatly that it's just awesome. My favorite Scorsese film. You notice there hasn't been a lot of Scorsese films in up here, which is strange because I love Scorsese films. Like Goodfellas and Casino are awesome, but I love Taxi Driver the most because to me it feels the most. It feels. I love vigilante stories, and this is probably the best vigilante story ever. The best vigilante story that's not a superhero movie, and he's very. In Robert De Niro's character, he could easily be a bad guy, but he ends up being a good guy. He kind of flirts with the line a little bit, and I like how violent it is. I like how hardcore it is. I just like how it just feels. It's a great character study, and I love it because it appeals to me. A lot of these movies, it's going to be hard for me to describe why I love them in a specific way, because, you know, it's kind of that saying, you don't pick your favorite movies pick you. And that's completely true, because you can love movies all these movies are great. They execute everything so well, for the most part. So it's kind of hard to describe why you like something in a specific way, because it's art. You know, you can't describe art. And yeah, Taxi Driver's amazing. Everything about it's amazing. I love it. It's a great influence on me. A lot of the movies up here are movies that I've seen quite a long time ago, and they remained up there because they stayed with me for so long. And they're a great influence on me, on stories, and what I like and what I don't like, and this is great. I love Taxi Driver's awesome. You gotta watch it. Al Pacino's best performance. Best, in my opinion, my favorite gangster movie. Quotable, action, the sets. My God, the sets are awesome. The score is amazing. Brian De Palma directed this movie. I love Brian De Palma. Oliver Stone wrote the screenplay, and still, it's awesome. I love the movie. I like the actors. I like the story. I like the Shakespearean tragedy in it is awesome. And I just love, Al Pacino is fun. He is fun. He is awesome. He is as great as a porn performer as you can imagine. Great movie. It's a classic for a reason. Braveheart. See, this movie, Braveheart connects with me pretty personally because I'm Scottish. So this movie, I connect with this movie a lot, and I love Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's great, even though he's kind of fell off the wagon in the mentally in recent years. But man, when he was on his prime, nothing can stop him. And Braveheart I love because it's a classic epic story. It's emotional, it's powerful, it's violent, it's kind of funny when it needs to be. It just does everything right. I love movies that blend. I love movies like, you know what, you don't need to be a comedy to have funny moments. You don't need to be a drama to have serious moments. I like movies that we're just going to do whatever the fuck we want and we're going to do it awesome. We're just going to tell a great story with everything in it and you're going to love it. And Braveheart's one of those stories. And I like the way it begins. It has a powerful ending. It's a great movie. And my favorite Stanley Kubrick movie, The Shining. It's an odd choice, because you can argue that Stanley Kubrick has directed and made better movies than The Shining. Not to say The Shining has flaws, but in terms of people loving Stanley Kubrick, they may not think of this favorite movie. A lot of people think, and yes, I'm aware that it doesn't really, the book, it's based on the book, a Stephen King book. I understand that it doesn't really, I love Stephen King movies, by the way, too, especially Shawshank Redemption, which you notice it's not on this list. I'm just going to say that right out. And I'll talk about that movie at a different time. But The Shining, what I love about this movie, well, first of all, Jack Nicholson's awesome. But the cinematography is great. But what I like about this is that Stanley Kubrick has always flirted with horror, but this is the only movie where he's truly delved into horror. And I think that's why I love it, because to me it's the first example of Stanley Kubrick going full terrifying mode, and I love it. And yes, is it a great example of? No, I mean, because I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought, but I love it because it's everything is well executed, and it's terrifying. It's intense. It's a great original horror movie. To me, this is how you do a ghost movie more than anything. And it's colorful. It's iconic. It's just everything. And like I said, I haven't read the book, but I know the book kind of goes a more heartfelt, more meaningful messages, and more meaningful character development for the character, specifically, the father. However, what this movie does that the book, but what this does that I like about it is that it just feels, I want to learn more about this world. I want to learn more about the hotel. I want to know more about this and after. And to me, it'll be easy just to make it all about those characters, but to me, and it's grand. The hotel's mysterious. You don't see it all. I know I'm rambling at this point, but I just love this movie. I could watch it over and over again. It's awesome. It's my family Stanley Kubrick movie, and that says something, because I've seen 2001, Clockwork Orange, Eyes Wide Shut, Full Metal Jacket. All those movies are fucking amazing. I love those movies to death, but I pick The Shining because out of all of them, this one it goes beyond just a traditional Stanley Kubrick movie for me. It goes beyond that. Those movies are Stanley Kubrick movies through and through. Arguably. But this one, it's a movie that isn't just Stanley Kubrick. It goes beyond that. It's also Stephen King. It's also Jack Nicholson. And you could say the same thing about Full Metal Jacket, where it's more than just a Stanley Kubrick movie, but I really feel it for The Shining, and it's a great example. It's a great example of a great horror movie. And it's horrifying in a sense that, and you don't really know, and technically it's a haunted house scary story, but it doesn't feel like a haunted house story. It feels more than that. And Sure. Did they cover Jack Nicholson's character's descendants to madness like traditionally? No. They go a more faster pace with it, which is fine because I don't need. And you could take it slowly but surely, but it wouldn't detract from the story. There's plenty of arguments. I'm rambling about it, but I love The Shining. I know some people say that compared to the book, it's kind of disappointing. They change a lot from the book, and they do. I know about the book. They do change a lot from it, but in all honesty, I don't care. I really don't. To me, the movie is just terrifying enough. And a lot of people say, a lot of complaints about Jack Nicholson's performance that you kind of feel like he's crazy before then he's just hiding or he isn't as crazy or there's a little bit in there. But I like it. I think it adds the element of the hotel revealing the true side of a character. That's my case for it. But moving on. Great movie. Gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. American Beauty, yes. Kevin Spacey movie. I know it's super high, and is the film dated? It's wonderfully dated. It's an importantly dated movie. When this film came out, it kind of covers the topics of kind of commercialism, kind of expensivism, and commercialism, buying, materialism, and shit like that. But what I love about this movie, here's the thing, Fight Club and this movie are very similar to each other and cover topics in a very similar way. A lot of people might like Fight Club more than American Beauty or know more about it than American Beauty, but what I like about American Beauty, though, that it covers more demographics than Fight Club. Fight Club really, and I love Fight Club, don't get me wrong, I think it's a great movie, I love it, but what sets American Beauty apart from Fight Club is that it covers more demographics. Fight Club only covers the young adult males characters, really. The American Beauty, it covers middle-aged characters, teenagers, guys and girls alike. And it covers them in their own unique way, in their own story. And I do want to see them keep going. And Kevin Spacey's awesome in this movie. I think Kevin Spacey's a great actor, and I can watch his movies all day. And I know I said this before, but still, I'm sorry, I can't help what I feel. I love this movie. It's a great movie. I can watch it anytime. Is it a little, at times is it a little full of itself a little bit? I don't know, that's kind of debatable. Let's say if it is, it's full of itself for a good reason, because the stuff it's kind of talking about is pretty important, at least for that time period. Nowadays it's a bit more obvious, we kind of get it better, but I still love it nonetheless. That's a score. I love The Crow. The Crow is awesome. It has a lot of history to it. I'm not going to talk too much about it because, you know what, I might do a Fenn Recommends video on The Crow. I might do some Fenn Recommends on some of these movies, but what I love about The Crow is just, it's dark, atmospheric, great sets, great story. It's a tragic story in a sense that it's tragic in the beginning and it's heartfelt at the end. I love everything about it. Brandon Lee's awesome. God rest his soul. Everything about it is awesome. Extreme, epic, cool, great messages, great fight choreography, great soundtrack. Oh my god, I love the soundtrack. Great blend of everything. It's awesome. Evil Dead. Now, Evil Dead, I will say this, Evil Dead is probably my favorite horror movie of all time. And I know that's kind of strange pick because most people would have got something a bit more well known. But what I love about Evil Dead, especially the first one, all of them are great. And Evil Dead 2 could easily beat this one, even though they're both great. What I love about the first one is that it's full-on horror. There's a little dark humor in it, but this one's more full-on horror. There's a whole history, and I should probably talk more about this in Fenn Recommends, because I could talk forever about this movie, but Bruce Campbell's awesome, the lead actor. The film, it had this one, 2 is awesome, 3 Army of Darkness, it's different. It's still awesome, but it's different. And then the Evil Dead remake's good for a remake, and then the TV series is fucking awesome. But that'll be a whole nother discussion. But Evil Dead, the first movie, it's scary. It's atmospheric as fuck. The score is awesome. The editing's cool. It's very indie film. It's a very indie film. It was filmed on a low budget and directed by Sam Raimi, and it's fucking awesome. It's very terrifying. If you're watching it for the first time, if you're not scared, if you don't just get... You see, I don't get scared easily. This movie scared me the first time I watched it. Even the second time I watched it, it was still a little intense. And if you don't find it scary or intense, you'll at least admire the workmanship for it. Because this film was filmed with not a lot of money and with a lot of hard work. And if you don't get scared, yeah, at least appreciate it for entertainment value alone, because it's just, this is how you do a horror movie. This is how you do it right here. By no means, if you want to watch a great horror movie, you gotta watch Evil Dead. This is a Jim Carrey movie. I love Jim Carrey. I'm surprised I haven't more of his movies on my favorites, but yeah, it's his great. It's my favorite funny role of his. It's also my favorite dramatic role of his. It's a great dramedy. It's great in the fact that I might do Fenn recommend on a lot of these movies, but yeah, it's awesome. It's funny. It's heartfelt. It's unique, and it's probably one of my favorite. Definitely my favorite PG movies of all time. And what I love about it, it's clever in its humor. It's clever in its dialogue. It's clever in its soundtrack. Oh my god, what a great soundtrack. Cinematography's great. Everything about it's great. And here's the thing, out of all the movies on this list, this movie, I could literally watch this movie over and over and over and over again. Like, non-stop, and I would never get tired of it. And I think that's what puts this movie so high up here, is because it's just, I could love it that much. Now, it's not number 1, and I'll talk about that in my last one. But either way, it's my favorite Jim Carrey movie. You gotta watch it. It's a great movie. It talks about great things. It's just awesome. Here's the thing. I love old movies much more than newer movies. So with that in mind, this might come as quite a surprise, but let me tell you something. This movie got me into movies. Now, I watched plenty of movies before then, but as a little kid watching them. This is the first movie I saw where I was actively thinking, participating, not just really just watching, ooh, explosions, ooh, this and that, but watching it for the story, the characters, the atmosphere, the settings. And I didn't even know what those words even mean when I first watched it. Movie terms even mean. But when I watched it, I felt like I was learning that, even though I didn't know what they were called. And everyone's talked about Heath Ledger's performances to death. I'm just not going to talk about it. He was awesome. That's that. But what makes this movie great is really everything. It is a perfect movie, in my opinion. We make fun of it, but I feel like people make fun of it, not because it's a terrible movie as much, in my opinion, as much as because we've learned and we've been around it for so much, we kind of have to make fun of it because we're so comfortable with it now. We gotta poke jokes at it because we're just that comfortable with it. But this movie is a very important movie to me. This movie got me started into thinking about movies as an interest and not just as some form of entertainment, but as something to aspire to be like. And I can't praise this movie enough. I mean, there's no complaints. I could watch. It's my favorite of the 3. Batman Begins was good. Dark Knight Rises, it was a couple of issues, but I love the trilogy. Great trilogy. Great. My God, Dark Knight. awesome movie. I love it because it takes everything. Movie, a lot of movies on my list probably have done this, but it takes everything great about old movies and everything great about new movies and puts them together and takes advantage of it. It feels like a true Batman movie. Batman's probably my favorite comic book character, but I'm not fully loyal to him for various reasons. I also love The Crow, but and over time watching other interpretations about how comic book movies have grown, I don't know if in terms of like story building the Dark Knight trilogy will age well. It's one of the last solo superhero movies disconnected from other superhero characters, but that's the thing about The Dark Knight. It goes beyond typical comic book stuff. It goes into the classic crime sagas like Heat, in the style of Heat and Taxi Driver and Scarface. It goes into those, and I think that's what I love about it. It combines everything I love about my favorite movies and favorite subjects. It combines my favorite movies, my favorite subjects, my favorite genres. It combines not all, like not like Western genre, which I love. It doesn't combine that, but all of my favorite genres that I grew into as I discovered movies, it combines them all together. And it does it so well in every single aspect, every single ingredient. I cannot praise this movie enough. It's definitely a must-watch. And that's really my top 60. And in thinking back now, there are plenty of movies that can be in the top setting. Plenty more movies I can talk about. Here's the thing. If you're curious, I don't know if all of you are who watch this. This video is probably gonna be super long, but if any of you are curious on other movies that are my favorite movies list, I'm gonna put a link in the About page connected to my favorite movies list page, and it's gonna have, right now, last time I checked, it's about 200 movies total. So I'm going to put that on there, so if you're curious on what movies didn't quite get up there, or movies that I love still, and maybe I may change my list over the course of period, I'm going to put it down there, but yeah, that's my top 60 favorite movies of all time, and thanks for watching. I mean, I'm just putting this out there really just because I advertise I love the movies so much that I think it's good to have one of those videos out there, just so that, you know, you guys can get an idea of what I love as a movie enthusiast, which is pretty much one of everything. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like the videos. If you have suggestions on anything, please leave some comments. But yeah, thanks for watching. My favorite TV show list would probably be coming out soon. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good day.